And with ready-made solution and prompt-driven workflows, it's now possible to create a complex, dynamic email without deep technical things. And interfaces shift from a drag and drop to describe what you want. And instead of hunting the right module or template, you can simply say, add a blog with my latest accessibility blog post into the photo of email section. And it's done because of you have your library, you have your brand guideline, and you have a data. Why you need to drag and drop images, text, buttons, and wrap them all. Or insert a navigation bar before the hero section so people can jump to the product category they want. It became possible now. And this doesn't just save time, it changes the role of marketer.
Hi everyone. Today we are joined by Dmytro, founder and CEO of Stripo, Claspo, and Yespo, companies that have been go-to tools for email design, interactivity, omni-channel automation. With more than 20 plus years in software and over a decade in email marketing, Dmytro is one of the few people who not only shapes strategy but also builds the technology that makes it work in practice. If you ever have spent too long building campaigns, struggled with collaboration, bottleneck, or wondered how to scale personalization without adding more tools, tech stacks, and all those stuff, or increasing the headcount, this conversion would be relevant for you to how to tackle all those scenarios. In today's discussion, Dimitro will share his approach to learn email operations, prompt to email, and no code interactivity, along with insights on gamification, localization, and AI driven personalization, which is a buzz right now. And towards the end, we'll dig into one mistake global brands consistently make with localization, right? Which is like need to be aware of, and how to fix that without disrupting the automation. So, welcome, Dimitro.
Hello to everyone, and thank you for having me. Yeah, and thank you for such detailed introduction. Yeah.
Great. So yeah, let's start with the first major part, right? And in the area which you've already invested a hell lot of time is email creation, right? You already built Stripo, so email creation is the core to it. So many teams still spend too much time in creating and building emails, right? Designers draft it, right? Marketers try to tweak it based on their best practices and their learning, right? And then the final results drifts from the original idea, right, which was created at the beginning, right? You have said prompt to email is the next step beyond drag and drop. So would love to understand if you can explain what that looks like in practice and how a team can start using it without completely changing their current setup.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, you know that email has evolved from a plain text to HTML and constantly trying to catch up with the capabilities of the web, but it's been stuck in a like tug of war between major email clients platform like Microsoft, Apple, Google, and each doing in its their own way. And add to that, like an all strict security restriction inherited to email. And as a result, we have innovation is slow, building sometimes like a painful and requires a lot of technical processes. And the AI changes this dramatically. And with ready-made solution and prompt-driven workflow, it's now possible to create a complex dynamic email without deep technical things. And interfaces shift from a drag and drop to describe what you want. And instead of hunting the right module or template, you can simply say, like, add a blog with my latest accessibility blog post into the footer of your email section. And it's done because of you have your library, you have your brand guideline, and you have a data. Why you need to drag and drop images, text, buttons, and wrap them all. Or insert a navigation bar before the hero section so people can jump to the product category they want. It's it became possible now. And this doesn't just save time, it changes the role of marketer. And I think this year I expect we will have editors to integrate this kind of high-level prompting. At least Stripe definitely will be there, and making email production even faster, more consistent, more creative than ever. So I think AI changes user experience a lot, and all these drag and drops, it just we try to simplify in this way. And now with AI, it would be new era when prompting like a white coding for web now will be possible as a white coding for email. And I think it's our nearest future.
You are saying that now it's not the time of drag and drop, right? Neither is the time for creating a custom HTML coding, right? The time is for prompt to email, right? Where you give a prompt and you get the output in terms of an email, right? With either the drag and drop version or let's say a modular version or an HTML version. That's what the future is all about, right?
Yeah, and I think they will work together. So it's not necessary they have to replace, but more and more marketers will use this simple prompt editing, like change their even the very basic, like change the color of my call to action buttons. And it's can easily find all call to action, change the color of background or on over effect because of we have a rules for this. And anytime you can switch to the drag and drop and do the changes like you did earlier. And you still have to build your library, your guideline, your email design system for AI to use this in the right way.
Many teams or marketers are still under pressure to do more with less right nowadays, and that can lead to a messy processes or burnout. You have applied lean principles to email in a practical way, right? So would love to understand what's one workflow or system you have seen really help team to speed up while keeping the quality high
Yeah.
and impactful.
For me, lean in a email team is not just a buzzword, it's a discipline. It's about value first, build, measure, learn, cycle, removing waste, delivering just in time, and having the right metrics that actually motivate team to involve. And I think the biggest mistake I see is trying to write detailed strategy months in advance. Reality changes faster than any documentation. And even if you have a documentation, sometimes it's not actual in few weeks. While we are still planning, like new variables appears. While you are implementing market condition shifts. I think vision is essential, but a perfect long-term plan can paralyze the progress. Like my own lesson here is once I was asked to write a full strategy because of I have a lot of talk from a stage where you know everything about strategy, just write it for me. And I spent a month and delivered over 100 pages documentation. It was a mini book with a lot of analytics, with a lot of, and in the end, maybe 10% in a best case was actually implemented. And that experience changed my approach entirely. And I started following, I built it like a shuhari rules. I got it from martial art, from Aikido. Like shu is the best practices. Just follow the rules. You do what you can find in the proven sources. I would recommend Chad White marketing rules book to volume there. So if you e-commerce, you should do monthly newsletter, bonded cards, used, and you have to do birthday email, and you have to implement recommendation email. You have to do double opt-in. You have to add unsubscribe. So you have marketing rules. Just do this. And what I found, then when you do that, not in a perfect way, you have most of the value in money. And the next, like break the rules. You can do experiments because of you have all the data, you have all the processes. You can improve, you can test, and it's where real marketing starts. And the next level is a is when you understand something new, when you start to implement something you never can read in a book because of you have your own business, your audience, your cases, uh, and first, you have to do sure. I see so many companies that starting to improve their very first email for forever, but they have so many opportunities to do just best practices first.
Yep, yep.
And Yes, exactly. And what I think in high performing email teams, lean means like working in a short, clear cycles, learning from each release and adopting instantly.
No, that's really a good point, right? Yours, and I also have a good. I've already read and understood Chad White's marketing rules, which you already referred in this answer. But yeah, every marketer should definitely refer to it as and when they get time, because it's a quite detail, and you get a good understanding around the marketing side of the thing. But yeah, when we are talking about marketing, when we are talking about campaign right now, right, and now it's the time to make sure that your campaigns are smarter and more scalable, right? And gamification is one of that area. So gamification sounds exciting, but it doesn't always translate into the actual results, right, or outcome which is expected. You have tested a lot of game formats across different funnels. Do you see there is any one type of gamification that reliably drives performance, and how should a marketer decide when and where to leverage and use it?
Gamification works when it's more than just fun. The most effective format is one where the game mechanic directly serves the business goal, helping the user take the next step in the funnel, like you mentioned. And like a proven example, spin to win or scratch card reveal for mid-funnel re-engagement. It's simple, it works well on a mobile, and delivers instant gratification. And the key is to tie the reward to exact action you want, like completing a purchase, trying a new feature, or filling in profile details. And I had an examples where like interactivity and gamification improves conversion 5 times because of uh, you know a lot of companies think about gamification like they have to play in email, but it's just interactive way to engage your customer, to interact with your customer, and not going to some landing page where they can do this, but immediately in email. And this extra step usually breaks the conversion. The interesting thing is, can you do this in email? But it's hard because of it requires a lot of technical skills. And I think it is a challenge we have to fix. I even feel myself, I kind of my personal mission to make a large accessible library of such interactive or gamified components available for everyone. So I think that it's really unfair that giving your users more engaging UX is still privilege reserved for companies that can afford highly skilled technical teams. I think with the right library, any marketer without touching code can create experience that once required weeks of development. So I think we mostly speak about gamification, but only few companies implement this because of it's hard. It has to be easy, but it should be much more than fun. So I think it is biggest takeaway here. You need to understand additional value of a gamification in your communication strategy.
Yep. So gamification, as always, and everyone says that they want to implement gamification, but hardly any brands and marketers are able to implement in their marketing automation strategy, because it's not only about interactivity, AMP, or anything we say. It's always about the complexity, right, of building it, leveraging it, and also making sure that you track the results out of it. And not all the marketers and brands are able to do it. But yeah, good point that it's a good area where you should leverage if the brands and marketers are able to invest that time, effort, and have that technicality, right, the expertise, right, which is required to build the interactivity or AMP emails.
By the way, like AMP emails and PMLs is, it works only for part of audience. You always have to think not about technology, but about the value.
Yeah.
So any interactive components have to be for kinetic emails that works in AMP, in Apple, and AMP emails that works in Gmail. And even if you have old version of a standalone Outlook application, it still have to work for you. So a lot of work, but we already have a solutions that cover everything here, and we are with you building like a ecosystem for this to return marketing to marketers, not to developers. Developers very bad marketers, to be honest. So it's much better even marketing do their work.
We have talked about marketing automation, we have talked about email, right? But now the brands and the market is moving towards omni-channel approach, right? Beyond email, right? Everyone wants to leverage the other channel. They don't want to stick to only email as the desired and only option. Customer interacts with brands across email, SMS, push, in-app, and many other channels. But too often, those channels end up feeling disconnected. You have even built tools to resolve or to solve these concerns, right? So, from your experience on omnichannel strategies, where should a team that's just getting started to focus first, and what's one mistake they should make or they should avoid making too early while they are implementing omnichannel strategies?
I think that true unification is about omni-channel but not multi-channel. Don't treat each channel as a place to duplicate the same messages. I would thread it as mm, like one more way to personalize the experience. Complement your overall communication strategy in the way most convenient for the customer. That means that each channel can have its own role. Email, I don't know, for detailed storytelling offers. SMS for urgency or time-sensitive action. Push for instant reminders. Mobile app inbox. So everybody has his own role. And but I would say to do this, first step is to choose a single control system that manages triggers, data, personalization across all channels, the same data, the same flows you can manage in each channel, just juggling them. So every touch point works as a part of the same journey. For e-commerce, like for us, we do it in Espo. For e-commerce, platforms like Espo make this registration easier from one place. You can connect different gateways, sender level, but control everything as a CDP, customer data platform, and activate using any channel. And all the story about email is that has no sense because of some channel exists. Doesn't matter it's mail or SMS or push or mobile. We always have to use channel for personalized communication. And email is still one of the best and cheapest and easy to analyze.
Yep. So it's always about finding the one which is giving you the most outcome and effective one, right? And
Not
definitely,
one, like combination.
yeah, combination, right?
It's never one that works for one customer and another for another. It's always have one channel have to ensure other channel. If something happened, you can have a reserve use reserve channel. Maybe more expensive sometimes, but yeah,
Yep, that's definitely valid that it should not be only one. You should have multiple options and leveraging those channels. When we are talking about multi-channel, right? Right, making sure that you are trying to focus on each and every channel depending on the audience, depending on the tech stack you have. People always tend to, or brands always tend to make mistakes in terms of forgetting the personalization because personalization is a key, right? Across any channel, be it email, SMS, push, in-app, or any channel which we focus on. And now it's not about just being personalized; it's about one-on-one personalization, right? Which is going more towards your subscribers and customers and connecting one-on-one with them. And brands always talk about personalization that they are implementing, and that is just usually the first name, right? They don't go beyond the first name personalization. But when they are trying to do that at scale, right? It normally reduces that pace and it's almost resource heavy, right? In order to scale it up to that complete audiences. How are you seeing teams use AI to make personalization feel human, and what's the best way to measure its actually working or not working?
okay, it's a great question. I would split tokenization and personalization. Tokenization when we can just put first name or even product recommendation block. to email or even to SMS. You can use it like for VIP customers. But I would say before we can speak about AI to write even single line of text, we need to do our homework. And homework, where personalization starts with understanding who you are talking to. And the AI is need to have all this data. So define your personas. So personalization is not a tokenization when you just put a name. Personas, you have to keep them alive. It's not about a static, like a fictional profile. It's a document your audience pains and desires and habits and everything. And then you can use AI to consistently update this profile. How I do this, I call this a live persona, a profile you can enrich with a real-time interview insights or behavioral data on some engagement patterns. You feed it to AI, and AI can enrich your persona. And when it generates a text, it understands very clearly who is your audience. From other side, we have to lock in your tone of voice because of friendly is not enough. Feed, I don't know, to AI your post social networks or from your last emails you did without AI or articles you write to formalize your unique style, your sentence structure, your paragraph rhythm, your word choice. Yeah, so every output sounds like you in this case. So then to implement personalization with AI when you feed the context about your business, about the goal of your communication, it can suggest you email like you would write it yourself. And also we need to understand can we trust AI here? I would say if you work with a personas, you usually don't have hundreds of personas. You have 10 of them. Yeah, and in this case, AI can generate text and you can validate and prove, you can control this. And the rest of the thing you can reach with the tokenization. So personalization first, then next layer is tokenization, and you can implement the system that you can keep under control and scale and be not very generic because of AI. The biggest problem, it generates very generic text, something you would never write. So you need to keep it updated with the real data and quality data. And then you will have a quality content from AI.
So it's always about making sure that if you are using AI, the text should not be generic, right? It needs to be more customized and personalized. And before moving towards personalization, definitely we should make sure that, or the marketer should make sure that they define their ICP and also try to identify the persona, right, to whom they are targeting. Because once you have those personas in mind or on your structure, right, or the structure you have, you will be able to define the right content, right, which is relevant to that persona, and would be able to identify the right attributes and fields which you can personalize in your communication, be it email, SMS, push, or any other channel.
Absolutely, absolutely. So how we can expect some uh, magic from AI if we didn't give him or enough data for this?
Yep.
So
So when you're talking about personalization, I would also love to connect it with the brands, the global brands, right, who are trying to leverage or have campaigns specific to regions, right? Let's say a campaign for France as a geo, right? A campaign for US, a campaign for United Kingdom, right? And when they are doing campaigns specific to campaigns which are distributed across multiple geos, localization is the key, right? Because you need to make sure that you translate your content which is relevant and specific to that particular geo. Localization is one of those areas where every global brand are trying it, but there are not many brands who are able to uh, get that the best out of it, right? There are only few who are able to do well. From your work, what's one common mistake you see in localization, and a practical way you would recommend to fix that without breaking their overall process and automation?
yeah, again, great question here. And Localization is another way of personalization. So you just speaking with your customer in the right language. And I think the common mistake isn't bad translation. It's treating localization as just translation. Because of language is only one layer. And there is also like things like a currency or units or imagery or cultural reference or even product availability in the different regions. You cannot do the same for everybody. And if they're not adopted to a system, it can be just not linguistically correct, but emotionally off target. And how to fix? I would say build localization checklist to integrate them in your team's process, verify currency, unit, date formats, in Europe and the US. You can very easily uh, be misunderstanding because of months and date in different way. And review imagery for cultural and seasonal relevance, especially when you celebrate, I don't know, Independence Day somewhere. It doesn't mean that it is the same in different countries. Oh, I'm from Ukraine. There is a war now, and a lot of contextual things have to be taken into account. Adjust your offers, call to action for local behaviors, and keep tone and branding consistent across all languages because of its your brand voice. And to do this at scale, you need to adjust your workflows, define how translation are requested, which stages you pass through, or how you can agree them, where you use generative AI for draft translation with a human post editing, like a central glossaries to use because of sometimes I do very crazy things in translation, automated unit and date conversion and other things. You just need to think about your workflow, doing checklist, and coordinate all teams across whole process. And yes, it's tricky, but we all always interesting thing. I speak well with a lot of companies who implement localization, and every company do this in their own way. I never saw the company who use the same processes in different companies. So it only says that it's not easy, but you can configure, you can adjust it for your nature, for your company. You need to think about it.
Now, as the brand grows their marketing automation team or lifecycle marketing team or an email team, right? There is always challenges in terms of approvals, version control, which often becomes a real bottleneck, right? From your experience working with many teams, what's one process you recommend that helps moving things forward faster without adding extra layer in terms of admin work?
I would say speed doesn't come from working harder. It comes from removing friction. The most effective setup I have seen is building your own email design system, like a shared, pre-approved library of modules combined with a clear brand guidelines, with all the rules, while cutting unnecessary steps and integrating teams closer together. Too often, production slows because of design living a Figma, for example, disconnected from a real code, and because team works in silos and wait for each other. By integrating design, content, and code into one environment, have to make everyone work simultaneously. For example, for writing comments, to do changes, to apply some module in a Figma that automatically matches with your design in a email design tool, and somebody can add the comment or do an experiments or eliminate all handoff gaps. Handoff gaps is the biggest, I think, biggest problem in the communication. Sometimes 1 minute can save days. For example, I write, okay, change this, and he went home, and then he was in a sick off, or maybe some holidays happened, and you have to wait for him. And when he give a response to you, you doing something different. You have to switch a context. It's problem. So how it works in the practice? First, email design system, pre-approved, reusable modules, header, footers, product cards, call to actions. that already meet your brand guidelines, legal, localization, accessibility standards. Then integrated collaboration. Designers and copywriters and translators and marketers work in the same tool set with the ability to leave comment directly on the element and receive the response very fast in the environment they work. Sometimes C-level is much better to get the answer in the Slack or somewhere where he works, not necessarily log into some email design specific system like Stripe, and remove all these handle delays. I think is the biggest purpose. And version control. Version control is your internal documentation when you know why you do the changes. Maybe roll back to some previous discussion and keep your documentation with A/B testing, everything synchronized and like live system as it always works. So yeah, workflow is tricky, interesting, but easy when you centralize everything and build your system.
So major solution to this problem is having an email design system, which helps them to have a predefined set of modules as a library, which you can leverage rather than having a manual dependency in terms of review and approval.
Yes, exactly.
Great. When we are talking about accessing emails, right? Email accessibility is often gets overlooked, or it's something teams only think about while launching in a specific regulated industry. But you have shown it how it actually improves overall email quality. What in your understanding and in your recommendation, what's one simple step teams can take today to make their emails more accessible without adding any major complexity?
But accessibility isn't about adding complexity. It's about removing barriers. The easiest win is to design and write it your email that will be read in less than perfect condition, like a small screen, low vision, or by a screen reader. And when you think so, you have to do like a quick practices that can have a big impact, like color contrast. Ensure that text stand out against the background. Meets WCAG guidelines is a standard for accessibility. And now it's a rule by the law we must to follow this. And do readable typography. So minimum 14 pixels for body text, avoiding override thin fonts, doing alternative text for images, describes the image's purpose. And certainly for images, don't do image-only emails. Use mostly text email combined with images. And images have to support text, not other way, because of sometimes images not loaded and it's hard to scale image because of easy to do with the text. Even translate if you don't support localization, somebody use a translation tools. How your images can be translated and logical hidden structure is very important, especially for screen readers. All H1, H2, paragraphs, everything, because of some people can use special screen to read and also AI tools. So many AI tools that now get the most important things from your email to build the summary. Uh, if you have a bad structure, AI would not work. It's not necessarily only about real accessibility for people, but certainly it's number one. So it's very simple advices. Contrast, typography, images, alt text, logical structure. That's it. Just normal requirements. It's nothing very special.
Yep, it's about making sure that if they follow the WCAG guideline, right, in terms of accessibility, because that will make sure that the emails are accessible and are following the regulations. Now, there are teams, right, where they have most of tools, right? They leverage many tools at a time, right, which majorly slows down the things, right, and fragments the data. You have worked across multiple platforms, right, and helped teams simplify their overall tech stack, right? Which one
Yeah.
integration or consolidation that usually has the biggest impact, and how should a team decide uh, which or what to keep and what to cut, right, in terms of the tech stack, and what would be your recommendation?
I think the fastest way to boost team performance is to reduce number of disconnected tools or integrate them so they work as one ecosystem. So every extra platform add context switching, duplicate work, and potential data mismatches. I don't want to say you have to choose one system, but build your stack that they're connected tools. So where you don't need to copy paste the data, when you need to keep in mind the data that you have in one system and you have to use in some way in another system, or personalization, tags, data, when you need to write, just look to your processes. When you need to write some additional communication between the tools, documentation, it means that something wrong. It's not connected very well. And I think for modern marketing tools, simplification also means moving from uh, multi-channel to real omni-channel, like we discussed, where SMS, push, and other touch points are managed from one system using the same triggers, customer profile, and brand guidelines. Like for we mentioned personalization, yeah. You can have one system to manage your profile, enrich with the data, but the result you can use in any other system for email generation, like Stripe, for pop-up building, like Vespa, for any CDP, or you can do a lot of things. And I think for email teams, that often means merging design, content, automation, analytics into a single environment, or at least making them talk to each other via direct integration. No more expert in a set from one tool, like from Stripe to HTML, and then export HTML to other system. It's again disconnection. It has to be direct connection. Just think about it, focus on this. And now most of the tools allow to do this. And when it works, you can use AI agents as well. It's like a new step. When you have a clear API that connects different system, AI can do this communication much easier. Now we write a software not only for people, but also for machines. And if you feel that you cannot connect people, you definitely cannot connect machines.
That's really a wise point, right? If you can't connect the people, you can't connect the machine. Definitely something the marketer should be always be aware of. And yeah, it was really a great insight, and thanks Dimitro, right, for giving us a lot of insights on gamification, prompt to email, which is the new version where people needs to move away from drag and drop, think about prompt to email, uh, try to have interactivity, AMP, gamification, whatever we term it, right, to make sure that you try to connect with your audience, personalization and tokenization, right, leveraging it in the right smarter way by defining your ICP and persona. And in last not the least, the major thing was the email accessibility, making sure that how your emails are accessible, right, across the different audiences. So great to have such insights from you, Dimitra, and sharing your time with us to make sure that any marketers who are going to listen to this conversion would be able to get a lot of insights across overall email and multi-channel approach.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chitanton, for inviting. And I just want to say that you do a great work in Mothers as well. So, and we have a lot of challenges. So, together with you, I hope, yeah, it would be great if we have more meetings and discussion. It's very interesting for me as well. Thank you very much, and thank you for all your listeners.
Perfect. Thanks, Dimitro.